Hello, you're listening to Storytelling Saga, the podcast that shares stories. I'm your host, Allie, and this week I am recapping my experience attending this year's Pasadena Comic Con. That was in January of this year, so it's been several months now. And it's funny because usually what I do is after I come home from the convention, I'll just go ahead and dive in and record a podcast episode about it because it's fresh in my memory, and even though I am exhausted, I just want to talk about my experience. So I did that with LA Comic Con when I went a couple of years ago. But it's been a while since I had been to a convention. And then with this one, and then I was planning on recording that night, but I was too exhausted. And then I was like, oh, maybe the next day. And then it just fell off. And then I was like, well, I did want to talk about my experience. So here I am now, finally, because I really enjoy these conventions. It's just like a lot of fun. It's a great networking event. And it's also great for people who love collecting things. And then it's also great if you're fans of specific actors or shows, like when they do panels and all these actors where you can get their autographs and all that fun stuff. And then people, of course, in cosplay. I've still never dressed up in cosplay because that takes time and effort to put costumes together. But I really admire all these people who do. And it's all because of love, having such love and passion for these characters, these works of fiction. So it's really, really amazing, like these franchises. But with Pasadena Comic Con this year, the main reason I wanted to attend is because I wanted to meet Craig Bartlett, the creator of Hey Arnold. I love how I have to say it like that every time. Just kind of channeling Helga G. Pataki. But what's crazy is Hey Arnold is celebrating its 30th anniversary this year. Oh my goodness. Wow. So I got to meet Craig Bartlett, the creator, and it was really amazing. And I was so nervous to meet him. And it's so funny because I've realized that's a pattern with me. It's happened a few times with a few other people that I was excited to meet. I had to get myself in the mindset because I would get very nervous. And I got to get myself all worked up. I'm like, okay, just relax. It's just going to meet someone. It's just because I admire their work, but I get very, nervous a little bit. But then I'm fine once I meet them and I'm chatting with them. But yeah, so that happened with Craig Bartlett as well. But there were a lot of people at the convention and a lot of people giving autographs. And it's cool when just kind of discovering, stumbling on people who were there that I hadn't known were going to be there. Because actually at this one I have a Dunder Mifflin t-shirt. So then it turned out when people point out my shirt and then he was like, hey, Dunder Mifflin. So one person, then I was like, oh wait, it was an actor who worked on the show. He played the guy who was in that episode Mafia, which isn't a very popular episode. It's kind of an episode where it's a bit far-fetched. But that was cool. I was like, oh, wow, that was really amazing. And I also actually met Lori Beth Denberg, who, of course, was in the original cast of all that. So I was chatting with her a little bit. I asked her who was her favorite character that she had played, in all that. And she said Miss Fingerly. I was like, oh, amazing. Yeah, that's too funny. But I told her, actually, that I had seen her before at a taping of After Midnight with Taylor Tomlinson, that comedian. I've seen all of her specials. She's really funny. But that show was canceled, though. But I went to a taping of that show, and it was a lot of fun. It just basically was like a late night, not talk show, but kind of like game show style, but not even a game show either. Just having comedians on and actors, and then just jokes, making jokes, that kind of stuff. In the style of a game show and late night talk show. And it was fun. It was really a lot of fun, that taping. But when I went, it was some folks from all that. It was her, Danny Tamborelli, and Kel Mitchell. I'm part of that generation. I've been growing up with, Snick. And that was all that. And then Keenan and Kel, all that fun stuff. So in the late 90s, early 2000s. But yeah, it just was really cool meeting her. So then there's so many people. There's a bunch of voice actors too. There's people that I've seen at other conventions that I still haven't met because their lines are so long. And I tell myself, well, then I'd be tempted to, like, obviously you don't have to, but I'd be tempted to want to buy a signed autograph, and that stuff adds up. And I was like, well, I know I wanted to get one from Craig Bartlett. But when I have gone to other conventions and I've bought several signed prints, after getting like a few of them, it adds up. I basically did that with ToonCon when I went a few years ago. I met a few people and like got there, like chatted with them, and if you get like with all of them, they have like different stuff they're selling. So if you get like a signed print and a selfie, and it adds up. But it's fun. It's just like mementos, and it's just collectibles, and it's just stuff that, just nice stuff, like connected with things that I loved growing up, whether it's these TV shows mostly, like cartoons from when I was a kid. But also then there were some panels. I went to one of them. It's a show I hadn't watched, but like I knew about. That was on Nickelodeon. It's El Tigre, The Adventures of Manny Rivera. And it only had one season. But yeah, so that was a fun panel. And like I had no nostalgia for the show, but I just figured to go to that panel. And that was a lot of fun. Oh, also, though, before that, I was chatting with an artist who I ended up interviewing on this podcast, Kelly Hobby. And her work caught my attention because she had done her own comic books based on Hell of a Boss. But then she's worked on many other shows, and I chatted with her, hearing about her career and just how the industry has changed. But that's the thing. It's just a matter of creating things you're passionate about and then knowing and just like having faith that it'll find its audience and like, putting it out there in the world. So that was a lot of fun chatting with her as well. So you can go back and listen to that interview from back in February. But yeah, then the main thing, like I said, was I wanted to meet Craig Bartlett. And when I met him, he just was super nice. And actually, there was someone else at the table first, like looking through, because he had all of these animation cells from the show, which was really amazing to see. And it's just so funny. Like I was then flipping through them and seeing, like recognizing the episodes and stuff. Because, Hey Arnold was basically my favorite show besides Rugrats. Hey Arnold, I loved Hey Arnold. And then, of course, we got the Jungle movie finally all those years later, and that was amazing. I talked about that on my podcast as well, of course. But so, yeah, when I met him, I actually told him and his wife, Natasha Klein, because I had seen them at a different event called Picture This, which was just this live comedy show where it's artists just drawing along to the comedians on stage, the stand-up comedians on stage. So that was a really fun event. So they've done, I guess, several of those. Or actually, Craig said that was his first one, and then Natasha has done them before. But so I had brought that up to them when I was like, I actually seen you guys before. But then I was just chatting with Craig for a bit, and I ended up getting a signed print of Arnold and Gerald dressed up as fruits, and of course, the banana and strawberry costumes in the first episode of the series, Downtown is Fruits. So I got that signed. But he had also pins. He had like a lot of stuff. And at one point I asked him, I said, Craig, I'm just curious with the design of the Arnold pin in the movie, because that's how the pin was. Or the locket in the Jungle movie. I said, why did you go with the season 1 design? He was like, very observant of you. And he said, because like just kind of bringing it back to basics, he figured to draw inspiration from season 1, because then obviously there was a lot of references to season 1 characters too, like Pigeon Man, for example. Season 1, I think, that's like where all like the legends really come from. Stoop Kid, like, the really iconic. Like, the whole series is amazing, obviously, but especially season 1, just being so special. Oh, my gosh. But, yeah, like, I was basically chatting with him, and he was saying what was interesting, too. He said a lot of his animation friends, they have to do these conventions because they can't get work right now. So, like, this is how, like, they're making some money doing these conventions. I was like, oh, wow. Basically, like, how the industry has changed so much. And he flat out said to me, he was like, yeah, Nickelodeon is basically on life support right now. I was like, oh, gosh. It just was really fun chatting with him. I could have stayed there. I would have just stayed longer chatting with him. But it was like the end of the convention, really. People were starting to like kind of pack up. But then I was like, I want to just get a print. And then I got a signed got the signed print and I got a photo with him. And then I was like, oh wait, Craig, I just have to show you. And then in hindsight, in the moment, I was like, oh, this is kind of weird what I'm doing, but I wanted to show him. I took off my shoe to show him that I was wearing Hey Arnold socks. And he liked that. He was laughing. Just it was a picture of Arnold, I guess, kind of in a locket, with hearts. Just very cute that I had. I was like, I have to show him. And I told him too, I was like, I remember one of my earliest memories of watching Hey Arnold, as a little kid, sitting too close to the TV because I was just mesmerized by Arnold. And it was specifically the episode when he's riding down the steepest hill in the city, the episode, The List. He just was laughing at that because, again, I'm sure he hears stories like that all the time, but it's just nice that I can, share as well with so many other fans, sharing how much the show means to us. So he just was really, really nice. I just was very happy I could meet him, get to chat with him a little bit. Just how much hearing about the industry now, it was interesting. Just wow. And he was wearing a Gerald shirt. It just was really cool meeting him. I was just very happy about that. So I got my signed print, and I'd love to meet more of the cast too. If they ever do a panel, that'd be a lot of fun, because I know the OG voice of Arnold, Lane Torren, he does conventions occasionally. But yeah, I just really love these conventions. I find them always very inspiring, a lot of fun. I like when I get just discover new things, and when I get to, meet artists too, and then chat with them and have them on the podcast. That's a lot of fun. So it just was really awesome meeting Craig. I'm glad I was able to, get over my nerves and meet him, because he just was super nice, super chill, easy to chat with. I remember he was flipping through, showing a few people then who were at the table at one point, oh yeah, Haunted Train, all these iconic episodes of Hey Arnold, so it was really cool. And those were very expensive though, but that's actual artwork from the series, the cell art. But yeah, and then he had more prints, a lot of cool stuff. So I'd love to meet him again, chat more with him. But yeah, it just was a lot of fun. I always really walk away from these conventions motivated and inspired, but then also it's exhausting, but in a great way. It's wow, I had so much fun getting to meet all these people and see all of this amazing stuff, and just hear about when you go to the panels and hear about these shows, the process of making them and everything, their memories of it. So it's a lot of fun. It really is. So yeah, hopefully I'll get, as I said, more conventions down the line. But until then, that's going to conclude this week's episode of Storytelling Saga. Be sure to check out storytellingsaga.com. And as always, feel free to send me any questions, comments, or writing prompts by emailing me at storytellingsaga@gmail.com. Until next time, thank you for listening, and remember, write what you love.